Now, she is the latest star in Pakistan's most famous political dynasty, the niece of the first woman to lead a Muslim country, Benazir Bhutto. But Fatima Bhutto's campaigning has not been on the election stump, but in journalism and poetry. And now she's written her debut novel, The Shadow of the Crescent Moon. Hers is a family name immersed in the politics, power and tragedy of Pakistan's past. In 1979, Fatima Bhutto's grandfather, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, once Prime Minister and President, was executed following a military coup. Her father was shot dead by police following a political dispute with his sister. No one was ever convicted for his killing. In 2007, her aunt Benazir Bhutto, having served 2 terms as Prime Minister, was assassinated whilst running for a third.
Fatima Bhutto.
Inevitably, there has been speculation about Fatima Bhutto's own entrance into politics. But she's so far resisted joining the family dynasty, choosing instead to write both fiction and non-fiction about her homeland. Pakistan's tribal area of Waziristan, with its Taliban presence, is the setting for Fatima Bhutto's first novel. Though she studied in New York and London, she comes from a country where access to education, particularly for girls, is a struggle. It is an issue given greater prominence with the attempted killing of Malala.
Family 1737 Romeo, Libby, good morning again, squad 0252.
The book deals with the impact of drone strikes. Highly critical of the attacks, she says they render innocent casualties as collateral damage, and she blames the Pakistani government for its complicity. Well, Fatima Bhutto joins us now. Fatima Bhutto, your 5 characters are drawn very much as the way in which we go through this novel are set against a world on fire in Pakistan. Who do you blame for the fire?
Well, The Shadow of the Crescent Moon is about how Pakistan has become a country that demands sacrifices. It will demand it of you if you are to speak out against the injustice, if you are a voice of dissent, or it will force you to sacrifice something else, a fidelity to an idea, to a belief, to a place. And it is a story of how young people collaborate and fight power, but especially women. It's really women who are at the heartbeat of this novel.
And that comes through very vividly. But inevitably, when one speaks to a Bhutto, one tries to unravel where everything's gone wrong in Pakistan. Was it partly the dynastic politics that somehow throttled the development of the country?
Well, I think if Pakistan had had democratic foundations and democratic institutions and saw democracy as being more than just a thumbprint on a paper every 5 years, then dynasty wouldn't have mattered. If you had more voices on a political system, what damage would dynasty have done? But the problem is really the suppression of voices. It's the fact that this is a country that does not allow the voice of women, the voice of those who dissent from the state.
But is it an organically, internally created disaster, or is it entirely a victim of outside interference?
Well, it's certainly a Pakistani problem, but the foreign interference that we've had in the country almost since our birth has impeded democratic functionings, has impeded people from building grassroots structures. And in the novel, I mean, I am very critical, obviously, of the role of America's drone wars and how that's impacted people. But The Shadow of the Crescent Moon is more about how Pakistanis long for this idea of Pakistan, and they long for it to live up to the promise of what it was supposed to deliver, which was justice.
In a sense, it's not free to do so. It is a playground, in a sense, for America to resolve its problems with international terrorism, which oddly enough is fueled by one of America's allies, Saudi Arabia.
Yes, and of course, as we've seen with the drone strikes, the Pakistani government allows these strikes to be carried out against its own people. Last week there was a strike against a settled area, I mean, not a village or a deserted mountainous region, but a city, and it raises only the faintest complaint after the fact.
Well, Fatima Bhutto, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Thanks very much for talking.